everyone, and welcome to Creatio's first no-code hackathon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is my great pleasure to host you today on the very first Creatio no-code hackathon, an online learning event and championship for the best developers of business applications using Creatio's no-code platform. I'm very excited to kick off this session today with my counterpart, Mike Uden. Mike, if you want to say hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi. And first of all, Mike and I would like to say a huge thank you to all of the participants and everybody who has raised interest in participating in Creatio's no-code hackathon. There's more than 1,600 of you guys out there who decided to join this amazing event. And we're very, very excited to host you and to kickstart the hackathon today on this event. So let's talk a little bit about our agenda for the day and what we're going to be doing. Just to remind you, your host is here, Alex Petrenko, product evangelist, and Mike Uden, head of marketplace, our technical evangelist, and we're going to be kicking off the hackathon. But also, we've got a pretty packed agenda for this day. Overall, we're going to have 4 main tracks that we're going to be following. On this main stage, and for the first hour or so, Mike and I are going to be kicking it off and telling you everything that you need to know about the hackathon, terms and conditions, some fun facts about hackathons, and what we're going to be doing throughout the next couple of weeks. Later on, throughout the same track, so stay on this link right here, we're going to be going through a live demo build where Mike and I are going to be showing you the best practice of creating business applications using our platform. Later on, we're going to be coming back to the main stage together with all of the participants for a 30-minute Q&A. And after that, quick closing remarks, enough to go to the race. But also, at the same time, since we might have some new participants, some people are not very familiar with our platform. At the same time, at 10 a.m. EDT, we're going to be launching a few training sessions delivered by our technical trainers on how to create process templates on our platform, how to create add-ons, and how to design integration connectors on our platform. And this is everything that we're going to be doing today, and this is how the day is going to look like. So that being said, let's get started, guys. And I would like to remind you guys that the event page on the right-hand side, you've got the chat area. So don't hesitate to ask your questions, leave your feedback, share your thoughts, create some buzz, and let us know what you think about the event. So at this point, Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about the concept of hackathons and a few fun facts, if you may.
Sure. Thanks, Alex, and hello, everyone, again. So let me start with just defining what the hackathon is and just to give you a little bit of history of the hackathon. So the hackathon is an event in which computer programmers intensively collaborate with one another and also sometimes collaborate with other people of other specialities like designers and subject matter experts. And in over a relatively short period of time, they are creating code, and usually for a software product or a service. And so the goal of the hackathon is to create a functioning software by the end of the event, like this one. So the concept of the hackathon was born in the open source community, then it migrated to other areas. So if we get to the next slide, probably the first I'll start with by asking a question. So in what year do you think the first hackathon was held? So put your answers into a chat window and let's see who knows the history best.
Yeah, Mike, and let's give our audience just a few seconds to share their thoughts. I'm pretty sure that we're going to have quite a few people who are going to know the answer to this question, right? But just going back to the previous slide around, the classic definition, this is an event for computer programmers, but definitely, the hackathons have moved way ahead of there, right? And the no-code hackathon is also designed for those for those people who are not professional programmers, right? Not by education, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I see a lot of right answers in the chat area, right? So
yeah. So drum roll. Let's see who was right.
Right. So yeah, so a lot of you was right on this one. So the hackathon culture starts somewhere in 1990s, but and it was a part of the let's say open source communities like hackers and other people just with computers they brought together, and mostly they were playing multiplayer video games together. But the first event labeled a hackathon was an hackathon, an open BSD event, and it was somewhere around June 1999. And a bunch of developers, they gathered around the world, and within the week they had integrated the IPv6 and IPsec stacks completely into an operating system. And then starting from 2000s, the hackathons became more widespread, but they still were a part of the developers and open source communities. And starting from 2010s, it became popular among private companies as a way to quickly develop software and come up with different business ideas inside the companies. And here we are in 2021 having our first Creatio no-code hackathon. So we have a powerful platform where anyone who is willing to learn, who is willing to create new software, new solutions, and put their ideas to work, can create an app without even having a programming background and specific technical skills.
All right, perfect. And Mike, I also know that not only do some features, right, and some great ideas start with hackathons, but I also know that there are certain companies that started up as a result of a hackathon, right? And this is what we want to ask our audience. If you guys know any companies, maybe they are quite famous, maybe they are less known on the market, but actually started as a hackathon.
How about Creatio?
Well, maybe there are going to be some new organizations starting from this hackathon, right? Because we have a lot of possibility for our partners to create their applications using our platform. Okay, Mike. So, want to share some of the thoughts on this one, or should I take this one?
Yeah, go on.
All right, perfect. So, of course, there are many companies that started as, kicked off from hackathons, but probably one of the most famous one coming from a hackathon is Zapier, a very well-known, widely spread, widely used integration platform with current evaluation of over $5 billion. Now, I'm pretty sure that you guys recognize some of the other names on this slide, like Carousel, GroupMe, Dockersy, and others, right? But the idea here is that this really proves that the hackathons are not just a great way of coming up with an idea and having fun developing and coming up with a product, but this is also a great way to kickstart a whole new business, right? To become a leading platform for integrations, for example, on the market. Just coming from a very short period of time where you're coming up with an idea and then you are bringing it to life. And the idea and the point here is not only because the companies come up from hackathons, but also if we kind of look back into the history, right? Though Vimeo came up with the like button in 2005, but the Facebook like button, something that has really influenced generations of people and changed the way that we were actually approaching and thinking about social media, right, in general, came from a hackathon as well, an event that Facebook actually hosted internally, right? And the team led by Justin Rosenstein actually came up with this Facebook-like feature that was implemented and that has for many years been actually a sign of a generation that gave us all likes. So this is how important these events are, and we believe that Creatio No-Code Hackathon is going to be as important and as game-changing as those where Zapier appeared and came up to life and the Facebook like button. So with these words, we would like to kick off and start the introduction on how we're going to be hosting our first no-code hackathon. Now, of course, everybody has heard a lot of facts and a lot of numbers behind the importance of the no-code market, right? But just to come up and just remind you guys that overall, right now in the world, there are 1 billion knowledge workers and only 24 million developers that are delivering applications to that. And our belief is that the no-code hackathon can help us accelerate the design of business applications for these knowledge workers, and that will as well help us be more efficient in delivering them, right? To have a shorter time to market, shorter time to value for everybody out there, right? And this is what we want to promote. This is what we want to create as a culture of creation of business applications with no-code tools, without any development, only using visual drag and drops, configurations of the UI, point-and-click style of business logic definition. And of course, you know, we've mentioned this number many times again, but Gartner in their research have as well predicted that by 2024, at least 65% of all of the application out there are going to be delivered through no-code configuration and no-code technologies, which is an amazing number, taking into account that as such, no-code applications have been, starting as a market quite a few years ago. And by the 2030, the overall low-code development platform market is going to be estimated by $187 billion. So again, the low-code market is an emerging market. It is definitely going to be taking over the lives of everybody who's involved with the business. It is definitely going to be a game changer in how do we understand it, how do we approach the implementation of business solutions in organizations and companies. And this is where Creatio also has a standpoint, right? This is where we believe that we are going to be the best platform of ready-to-use composable applications and components for operations and CRM, right? This is our belief that we are going to be delivering with our unified studio platform. This is going to be the underlying basis for all of the business applications created, that we're going to be enhancing with add-ons, with connectors, and with industry solutions for specific markets, for specific business realities. And by this, we are now actually going to be involving you guys, right? This is where you're going to help us become this future. And this is where we're opening amazing opportunities for all of our partners and any person who is interested in no-code and low-code technologies. Mike, would you like to bring us a little bit through the terms and conditions and some of the points of how we're going to be running the hackathon?
Yeah, definitely. So actually, I'll start with just to define the purpose of this event, how we put it, right? So we wanted to engage anyone to create their own solutions using no-code tools. So we wanted to bring software developers, business analysts, citizen developers, domain experts together, and then create a creative solution and then participate in this event. And maybe even later on, you can publish it to your Creatio community on Creatio Marketplace, okay? So there are 4 nominations that we have on this event. So we have a nomination for templates, add-ons, connectors, and we also have People Choice Award. So everyone can participate in all of these nominations and in all of these streams. So essentially, if you feel like you can go and create a template only or only a connector, but if you have a spare time and you want to put it into work, and if you feel empowered and you have a lot of ideas, you can even create multiple solutions and submit your form into different categories. And we also have a People Choice Award, so meaning that all applications will be public on our platform, And yeah, so you should engage all of your friends, colleagues, and family to upvote for your solutions. So the solution which will get the most of the votes will win the People Choice Award category.
All right, perfect.
So let's just speak a little bit about each of these nominations. So a template, so we define templates as a ready-made solution, such as a business process or a dashboard that are designed for various use cases. So a great example of a template would be a lead management or opportunity management dashboard, or maybe it can be a business process template for HRM, let's say to manage business trips or recruitment requests, or to automate essentially any HRM process in the company. So this is probably the easiest of the categories, and it does not require a lot of knowledge inside any specific sphere, but so as soon as you have any idea, any way how you can structure work, how you can visualize a work, then this is a great opportunity for you to create a template and win this nomination. So the next one is add-ons and solutions. So add-ons and solutions that are applications that extend Creatio-based products by adding new modules, new configuration settings, sections, and different system elements. So a great example of add-on could be an app to, let's say, automatically create routes and get directions on the map for your contacts or an accounts, or maybe it might be something like a field sales module, which extends Creatio Sales Enterprise product, and it allows to schedule visits and automate your field sales team and analyze its efficiency. And the last category is a connector. So it's obviously probably the category that you can create a piece of software to build a bridge between Creatio platform and any other third-party application. So this might be a computer telephony integration with something like Cisco or Mitel, or maybe something like an integration with a messaging system like Teams or Zoom, or also something similar like e-signature connector. So the core idea here that you can select any of these nominations, come up with your idea of in one nomination or multiple, create your solution, and then submit it to our jury. So let's continue to the stages. So let's have a look at how this process will be structured. So today is 31st, and we have our kickoff day. And through next 3 weeks, all of you or all competitors or participants will be working on the application development, and also recording and creating a presentation, like a 5 minutes video on these application capabilities of what you have developed. So after that, starting from 21st of September, our grand jury will review all of your submissions, and then they will come up with what is the best application in each of these nominations. And also, it was mentioned that the hackathon voting page will be publicly available, so you do not hesitate to engage your friends, your family, your colleagues to vote for your app, and so you'll be able to get the People Choice Awards. And the whole hackathon will finish in September 30th, and we will publish the results of this marathon on hackathon on the Creatio website and also on our hackathon platform.
Yeah, Mike, can you imagine we have 1,600 registrations for the kickoff of the hackathon? So how many applications do you think we're going to be reviewing between September 20th and 30th? I'm thinking at least a couple hundred.
Yeah, at least. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of different great applications.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm very much looking forward to looking at all of those great applications, templates, add-ons, and connectors that you guys are going to create as part of this hackathon. And okay, Mark, so a few words about who and how can participate.
Yeah, sure. So the idea here is very simple. So we wanted to make it as simple as possible. So anyone, literally anyone, can participate in this event. So if you have some ideas and you want to add value to the your business, to the Creatio community without a coding, you want to use leverage Creatio no-code tools to create an apps. So, and you can create, participate either solo or gather a team of your colleagues or your friends, of your teammates, to create a sophisticated, great solutions and to win this great event.
All right, perfect.
All right, so let me give you a few words. So the first step, probably one of the first step, is to define your idea. So to help you with this process, I want just to highlight a few words about Creatio Marketplace and about the Creatio Marketplace map. So as idea is that on Creatio Marketplace and in Creatio in our company, we are constantly gathering feedback from our customers, our partners, our community, and we have gathered a map, which is something it visualizes. So what are the needs and what are the most anticipated features and what are the most anticipated applications that should be built on Creatio platform, and what are the industries that our users are specifically interested at. So you can use this map in order to shape your idea and to understand, okay, what should you build, right? So of course you can come up with any idea in all of our nominations, but you still can go and have a look at this map, and maybe this will inspire you and will help you to shape this idea. So I don't know, like you can go and create connector for communications or payments or billing. So just have a look at this map and then come up with idea and create your app.
Yeah, and Mike, I just wanted to add here that, guys, our marketplace is one of the strategic areas of focus of development for our company as a way to bring our application, bring our platform to customers, right? So those of you who are going to be creating applications during this hackathon will definitely have the ability to publish it on the marketplace and as well to market it, to create an additional revenue stream for yourself as part of the marketplace program, because there's great ways and great means for you to actually promote this application. We're always there to support you, right? And this will as well help us to create this world where everybody can benefit from composable application composable apps that will be forming a unified kind of platform for everybody to work with it. And probably another thing here, Mike, if you can just quickly guide us through some of the points in the in what are the software solutions that could be designed.
Yeah, sure. So if we double click on each of these categories, we'll have different specific use cases that can be covered. And so for instance, let's take a corporate service, right? So you might want to come up with an idea to create something for SRM or HRM. And in the same time, there are more classic categories like marketing, sales, and service. So these are all great categories and great places that you can have a look and automate your idea. So just in the same time, you can create some platform add-ons and templates for, let's say, data cleansing or monitoring or something in between. And there are also a lot of different connectors that can be built on the Creatio platform. We have listed just a few of them. So some of these connectors are already implemented on Marketplace, and some of them are waiting for you, our partners, our customers to create one. So you can have a look at this map and pick one from this list, or maybe to come up with something that you have on your hand. So for instance, you can create an connector for robotics RPA, something like UiPath, or some connector to the content services, or I don't know, like a payment system. So this is a very broad category. We just wanted you to have a look and maybe shape your ideas. And then, as Alex mentioned, of course, we're going to be glad if after this marathon, you will hackathon, you will shape your idea, you will collect all the documentation and all of that thing, and publish this solution to the for the Creatio community on the Creatio Marketplace.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And just like as in another thought, right now, of course, another great area of Creatio Marketplace are also industry solutions. So very specific applications with very detailed, very wide coverage of use cases and processes that are related to a specific industry, like healthcare or insurance or pharma. And of course, we would like to encourage all of our participants of the hackathon to develop a specific industry solution within this time, but we understand that it might not be just enough understanding the full scope of those applications. But yet again, if you'd like to, you can start and create an industry solution within this time, and we're definitely going to be reviewing it as applications and templates. So that being said, let's move on to our checklist. So first of all, just as a reminder, right after this session, we're going to be going through some of the training and learning sessions for our participants, those that are not quite yet familiar with all of the mechanics behind creating an application on our platform, right? After that, we encourage everybody to sign up for a special trial versions of Creatio that are going to be valid for all of the 3 weeks that are dedicated for the design of the application. And we're going to walk you through how to request a trial like that. Then you're definitely going through the development stage of these solutions. Multiple solutions, of course, because we believe that within this time, if there are many ideas they'd like to pursue, you can create as many as you would like to. And of course, then there's the preparation of the submission package. Part of it is going to be the recording of how this app, how this add-on, how this template is going to operate, all right, how it works. And you can actually submit all of the materials through the web form that is also part and that is available on this event page, right? So definitely have all of the all of the required documents ready for the submission, and then just submit them all together at one go. And after you've done with the development, we encourage you to encourage your network to vote for your solution. Send the links to your kids, send the links to your parents, to your friends, to your coworkers, to everybody you know, and make sure that they press the like button, make sure that they spread the word, right? Because if you get the highest voting, you can get the People's Choice Awards that we're going to mention a little bit later on, right? And of course, once we've done with the announcements, you can then go ahead and publish the app on the Creatio Marketplace, and as well start collecting additional revenue streams from the Marketplace program. And at this point, we'd probably like to mention probably the most interesting and most intriguing question for all of our participants, the price pool. So quite excited to say that for the templates that is going to be designed, we're going to have a price pool of $1,500. Now, for the add-ons, a little typo here, but we're also going to provide a $1,500 price pool. Connector is going to be worth $4,000, and People's Choice Award will get $1,500 as well. So you see how important it is to spread the word about the application and get those likes rolling in. So to collect the People's Choice Awards in addition to all of that. And at this point, guys, let's have maybe a quick Q&A, a little bit poll in the chat area. You're going to see a pop-up question. Please let us know which application category are you most interested in developing. Is it the template, right? So some quick, ready to use template of a business process, of an application, right? Maybe this is a dashboard that you're going to be working on. Is it the connector? So an integration between Creatio's platform and any third-party application out there, or is it just an add-on, something that would be extending the core capabilities of the product, something that is going to be just made available and that will enrich the functionality that Creatio offers? Or maybe this is all of the above. Let us know in the chat just so that we can see what are you guys most interested in. Mike, what are your thoughts? Who's going to get the most of the votes?
I bet everyone will gonna create all of the above. Definitely, why not, right? If you have 3 nominations, why not to participate in each of them?
All right. Well, I see that so far we've collected 20% for templates, connectors 36, and all of the above as 40%. So it looks like our participants and registrants are actually going to be delivering more than just one application for the hackathon submission.
Wow.
So Mike, maybe it's going to be, yeah, it looks like we're going to be reviewing a couple thousand applications with you. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Keep up.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And maybe we're going to have to extend the grand jury for our voting for the best applications. But Mike, can you give us a little bit of info on how exactly can the guys go through the registration processes?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So everything is pretty straightforward here. So in order to create your app, you'll need to proceed and deploy a Creatio trial. So in order to do that, you need to follow a special link which is listed on this platform just right above this video, and I'll stop on it and I'll show you how it's done. And then once you have your trial, you can start working right away. Today, after this presentation, you can start work on your apps. And this trial will get expired in 28 days. So just to make sure that you will collect all your work, all your applications, and submit everything to a form. And we'll get to that procedure a little bit later on these slides.
All right, perfect.
And of course, we'll be glad to hear from you. So in case you will have any question, or if you will require any assistance from our side, please do not hesitate and reach us out on events@creatio.com. We are here. We are willing to help. We are willing to engage. So just make sure, write us email, and we'll help you with all your questions.
Great. And Mike, just a few words about the navigation between the sessions, if you may, and where to find the additional materials, if you may.
Yeah, sure. So just a couple of words of how this platform works. So as you can see on the as a header or on the top of your screen, you have a track switcher. So currently we are on the main stage, but as Alex mentioned in this agenda, we will have more than one track. So we have a specific track for building templates, add-ons, and connector track. So just pick one and proceed with this track, but don't be afraid. I mean, at any time, all of these sessions will be pre-recorded, and then you can access this platform later on, and then just switch through the sessions and review all the information that you might have missed. And also, of course, you have chat area, but by now, I think you are already familiar with that. All right, and now, the last piece of information that you have on this platform, there are different materials for participation. So we have gathered all important links for you. We have links for Creatio Academy, links to the demo video recordings and guides. And there are entries requirements and all the details of how this applications review process will take place. And also there is a link where you will submit your solution for the review. So again, first you create your application, and when it's done, you make a video recording, and then you should log into this platform and submit your solution to review. So all of this information gathered here, and of course the extended Creatio trial is available again on this screen. So you have get your extended trial link right away from this screen. So don't hesitate to create your environment and start building your app.
All right, perfect. So guys, we're actually a little bit early with the kind of the basics of the hackathon. So I would like to remind you that right now we can answer some of the questions that have been asked in the chat area, right? We're going to spend some time there, but we definitely want to give you a little bit of a break between the sessions. So just as a reminder, at 10 a.m. Eastern time or at 4 p.m. Central European time, we're going to have separate tracks that are going to be delivered by Mike and I, by our technical trainers, right, across different categories. So definitely keep in mind that those of you who are very familiar, who are very confident in developing and designing an application, can stay with Mike and myself. We're going to have a very interactive 1.5 hour long demo of live builds of an application. Right, this is for pros on Creatio's platform. We're just going to go straight away into designing an application. And by the way, we are going to have a quick poll closer to the end of the session. But also, we're going to have 3 separate tracks for the participants, right, around how to create a template, how to create an add-on, how to create a connector for the platform. So, and just before we move to a couple of the last slides here, Mike, if you don't mind, I see a few questions coming from the chat. If you could help me answer those.
Sure.
And tell our audience, how do we plan to announce the winners?
Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna announce the winners first. We're gonna publish winners on Creatio official website. And of course, we're gonna announce winners on our hackathon platform. So either of these places, you can find the winners, and they will gonna be announced, as we mentioned before, on the end of September.
All right, perfect. Also, a few more questions on the evaluation, Mike. So first of all, can you remind, can you tell our participants how exactly we're going to be evaluating these solutions, right? And if we're going to have the following kind of main criteria for the evaluation, right? So usability, user experience, and everything like that. Mike?
Sure. Yeah. So there are going to be. So we are going to rank all the entry which will submit it for review. We will evaluate according to the few core values. So there are going to be evaluation for usability and user experience. There are going to be evaluation for quality and security, and also compatibility and a business value. So inside each of these categories, we want to make sure that application satisfy get the highest points of each of these categories. So let's say for quality and security, we will make sure that participant made all the functioning testing, and that the code quality, if there is some code, it's meets the high standards. On the compatibility side, we just want to make sure that the application that was created during this hackathon by our participant, that it will correctly install on each installation of Creatio, and it will result with no errors in, let's say, I don't know, like data bindings or some other errors. So we will make sure that the installation log will be green, to say so. And of course, for usability and user experience, we just make sure that your application will comply to the general user experience standards. And Also, just want to mention so that all of these information can be found again on this hackathon platform. We are attaching a document which lists all the terms and conditions for participation. So if you need any additional information, just click on that document and you'll have all information there.
All right, perfect. And Mike, I really like this question coming in from the chat as well. What is the one thing you're seeing in the no-code development world that excites you? And I would like to go first on this one, but Mike, encouraging you to go next, right? To be honest, the one thing that excites me in the no-code development is actually how people can change their roles and how people can change the way that their businesses and their departments, their operations work. Right. As a non-technical person myself, I've seen a lot of people that were absolutely not technical that started using low-code and no-code technologies to create their business applications. And this is incredible because it really proves the whole idea and the whole mantra of no-code development and those applications that are going to be created by business developers, right, as they call. So someone who's absolutely not technical, but who understands the business needs of and what the application has to be doing for their businesses to be successful, right? And this is really what has just started emerging. It was just started happening, but this is definitely what we're going to be seeing more and more on the market. And this is truly exciting for me. Mike, you want to add something on it?
Yeah, actually, I agree with all that you have said, but also want to add that, and of course, it's also great to see, the result that it gives also a lot of, like, it accelerates the development also, right? Because there is no need and no gap in communication, right? So, like, if you speak about, like, in general, you would consider that there is a one that knows what should be done and another one that knows how it should be done. But there is some communication gaps usually between people. You need to create a ticket, right? You need to describe, okay, so what are the cases and how it should be done. And all of that is not always required because you can use a great no-code tools and create a lot of stuff by yourself without ever resorting to writing a code.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Mike. And another question, can you explain one more time where to develop the solutions? So guys, on the event page where you're at creatio.com, the events page, right, where you see the free 28 trial is where you can subscribe for the trial version of Creatio that's going to be available for 4 weeks. And these are the instances where you can design your applications. Right. If you currently have an on-site development environment for Creatio, maybe you're a partner, you could do that there as well, but you also would need to provide the packages to the online trials, right? And the 28-day trials were created specifically for the purpose of the hackathon to accommodate all of our participants in quickly requesting a trial or demo version of Creatio with full configuration capabilities, not limited just to the trial name of it, right? And this is where we encourage everybody to start using these trials to build their applications. So again, Mike, if you could just remind us the kind of the events page, right? That is probably seen by most of our participants. Oh, actually, I can do that myself. So under the videos where you have the Get Your Extended 28 trial, you've got the blue action to request the free 28-day trial. And these are the instances of Creatio that we encourage you to using to create your applications and submit them later on for the review by the submissions team.
Yeah, great. And also I see another question from our audience that if you should develop on the trial or you can host on your own local environment if you have already licenses. So you can do both. So I think the simplest way for you is going to be to get the trial. But if you are familiar with the Creatio and you know how to develop on your laptop and your environment, there you are free to choose the option that is more suitable for you.
All right, perfect. And just another question coming in, if there are any mentors in this hackathon. Well, we will say that they would be actually be thrilled in in having a mentor. So guys, definitely reach out to our academy at academy.creatio.com. This is where we share a lot of training. This is where we share a lot of all of the documentation really on how to use our platform, right? Of course, our tech trainers would be more than excited to mentor you in these questions. So definitely check out the Academy service for additional tips and tricks, right? And definitely play back our recording for this session and for other sessions that we're going to be having. You can use the Marketplace map, Marketplace application map for ideas for applications that can be created during the hackathon, right? Our tech trainers definitely will provide you with all of the knowledge that is related to how to design applications, templates as part of the template track, add-on track, and connector track. And another question that I'm seeing here is most interest in observing the dev process. Can I participate as an observer? Yes, you're definitely more than welcome to participate as an observer, right? You can actually join the session that we're on the main stage that Mike and I are going to be running on how to create a template. This is going to be something outside of the training sessions, right? So more of a approach towards designing the application. And of course, you can actually you can join the template add-on and connector tracks for more hands-on, more detailed experience and more detailed overview of how to build the applications. Okay, and another question before we launch the last poll real quick. Is it possible that low code and no code will kill developer jobs? This is actually a question that we're getting quite often at Creatio. And I believe personally that, of course, low code, no code are not going to be killing the professional development jobs. On contrary, they're going to make them a lot more easier, because the purpose of no code and low code is to accelerate implementation, accelerate product design, accelerate time to market, time to value for any application. We believe that even professional developers should be able to use low-code technologies to quickly outline their data models, quickly outline user interfaces, quickly outline the logic of how applications should be working with business processes. And then, of course, to use no-code tools to create integrations and embed them within their applications using the EPM. But the idea here is that in no way they will be fully replacing a professional development. On the contrary, there are still going to be need and people who are going to be creating these tools for no-code technologies, because the only thing that's going to happen moving forward is that the business demand is only going to be growing. The need in these tools is going to be becoming more and more acute, right? And we want all of the developers to feel safe about their jobs. In no way they're going to be replacing them at all.
Yeah, just to add to this, in the same time, I believe, in contrary, there will be even more interesting tasks to developers, because doing some routine task of, I don't know, like changing maybe layout and do the same thing over the time. On the no-code platform like Creatio, you can create a new low-code instrument or no-code instrument and create new element, new task once, and then in this one time, empower citizen developers to use this tool to create layouts and all different kind of thing. And at the same time, create this great tool for everyone, and you will not need to do a routine task again and again.
Yeah, and Mike, I actually see that there are quite a lot of questions on whether we can have a limit on the applications or those are not limited, right? A lot of questions on how to participate. So again, guys, we'd like to remind you to check out the terms and conditions, check out the manual guides on how to participate, right? You've got some quick links underneath at the bottom of the page of the event, right? There's links to Creatio Academy, links to the video recordings, links to entry requirements, and so on and so forth. So definitely check them out if you're very interested in you're going to be participating in the hackathon. Mike, I believe that at this point we can consider the kickoff complete, right? Guys, let's get started with the hackathon. I'd like to remind you that in 10 minutes, right, 10 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central European time, we're gonna kicking off the sessions in parallel for the live build of the application, for the connector, for the template, and for the add-on tracks. And since we're going to be running the live demo build, live build of the application together with Mike, we'd like to get your ideas and thoughts on what would be the application that you would like us to build during this event. Just so that you see that this is something that's actually happening live, right? That this is something that we are going to be creating on the go without any previous preparation, right? Without any additional ready-to-use materials. So again, in the chat area, let us know which application would you like us to build. A template for timesheet tracking or a template for expense management. Definitely let us know your thoughts, your ideas, right? And we're gonna get started in 10 minutes. So at this point, we're gonna pause our hackathon kickoff day, and we're gonna see you in 10. Okay, guys, well, welcome back to the kickoff sessions for Creatio's first no-code hackathon. As mentioned, this track on the main stage is going to be dedicated to a live demo build, where Mike and I, in less than 2 hours, are going to create a new template application for, I believe the poll results were to create an expense management application. So, Mike, are you here?
Yeah, hello.
All right, perfect. So, Mike, let's get started. I think we only have an hour and a half for this, right? Before we need to come back to the Q&A session.
Let's do it.
Okay, so now we're gonna go quite quickly through the process. Again, we wanna focus more on the results of building this application, right? And pretty much the first step to take when I'm gonna be building this is to actually start with some of the background steps, right? By changing the prefix for object names that are gonna be used in the application design. Now, Mike, I know that there are also kind of a prerequisites to create a package and move some of the schemas to that package, but I'm actually going to leave this to you, right? So that you can also have some fun in building the application. So at this moment, we're just going to jump into the section wizard, since this is really one of the first area, right, where we're building the applications for on Creatio's platform. Right, so since we're going to be doing an expense management application, we're going to say that we're going to create a new section for expenses, right? And we are probably going to include it straight away into the application's workplace, right? Now, we are going to create a new workplace in the end as well for these purposes. But for now, let's just jump directly into the configuration of the user interface. So in this case, we're working with the section wizard. This is our primary tool for application configuration. And I'm just going to do a little bit of the background work here to change the captions, right? To add some tooltips for the existing sections. Right, and just going to do kind of the usual flow for creation, right? Now, definitely want to reuse some of the columns for created by, created on, modified by, modified on, right? And I can as well just add the notes area, which we're gonna rename to description, right? We can make it as well a multi-line text, right? Just so that straight away we can kind of like make it multi-line and expand it in the same time. Now, a few more things for this template that I definitely want to use, right? I definitely want to mention what's going to be the type of the request or type of the expenses, right? So we're going to add type. And since I do not have a lookup for this purpose right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new lookup straight away, right? So type of expense. And let's type. So save it straight away. Oh, and by the way, another quick note for some of those of you guys that are going to be creating your own applications or are interested, right? A few releases ago, we've actually added the new feature to apply localizations directly as we're going through the configuration of the application. Since Creatio is already localized as a core application to multiple languages, right? And we want to streamline the design of the application as well.
Just a side note, just to make sure that when you create your new object, new lookups and data, just make sure to bind this data to a package, so then you will not lose it. And when you submit your application and form, that we will get all the data and will be located in your package.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So in the same way that we're actually going to be doing all of the configuration around the user interface, right? I can add a little bit more tabs. I can add a field group for additional descriptions if needed, right? Or I can add a new detail. I can probably start saving the changes in this case, just so that we already have something to work with as a basis, right? And probably one of the things that I find very common for any application that we're creating on top of the platform is also the fact that it is a work in progress, right? There are also always some of the additional things that you can add onto the application, right? You can create the data model, and then you figure out that you need to have some additional data attributes, some additional points that you would actually need to use as part of this application, right? So quite often you're going to go back, you're going to create something else, you're going to add some additional specifics to this application, right? And with Creatio, it's always possible, right, to quickly apply those changes. Now, a few more things here is definitely the fact that the purpose of a template is to have something very canned, right? Something very generic as a template, right? And something that you can use as a basis for your own configuration when you're going to be moving to the design of a specific business app, right? So on Creatio Marketplace, there are many templates of different processes of different apps that are used as a basis, right? Because they're something that pretty much everyone can use, something that pretty much everyone can actually use in the very beginning, right? As some of the best practice, but then you would need to reconfigure it to make it more specific to your own organization. Since again, those are only templates, right? And today we will be creating a very simple templated application for expense management. So far, as part of the user interface, right, we have just the consecutive number, right? We have a new lookup for the type, just so that you can actually specify what was the type of the expenses, right? Statuses. And of course, in the same way, we can actually as well just add the total value of the expenses, right? So what's going to be the total for that expense that's going to be submitted, right? So again, at all times, we can just quickly add any additional fields. And perhaps we also need to just specify in new detail, another thought that I just had, to have more of a line-by-line item of what are the specifics of the expenses that are going to be submitted, right? Since expense management is kind of a request that you can create and follow some of the business expenses for the books, right? Okay, so let's continue the configuration of our application. And one of the things actually here is that, because Creatio has this kind of accelerated design time for all of the systems, right? Even though we're just in the process of applying changes that we are following in this specific area, we already have the expenses section or the business area added to the, to the instance that we're using. And of course, this is where we already have some of the base user interface outlined and specified. And the point here is also that what we're doing from the section wizard perspective is only configuring the UI and the data model for that specific business object, right? By default, we're going to have all of the foldering capability. By default, we're going to have all of the quick filters and the dashboarding area available for this section as well. So this is just a side note to keep in mind when working with Creatio, right? Now that we can actually create a new detail, just another step right here, right? So let's create a new object of the detail. And this is going to be the expense details objects, right? Now at all times, keep in mind, so this is going to be the caption. This is going to be the code. Again, this is something that's going to go into the database structure, right? We can actually make the list editable. And yeah, perfect. All right. Okay, great. Just save it right here, right? And save this step one more time. So the goal here for Creatio as a vendor is to as well improve and streamline the whole user experience and the design time and the design experience actually, right? So normally within multiple different applications, I would need to move between multiple areas for the design, right? To create objects and data model in one specific area, then I would need to move to another to create some UIs, right? Then put everything together into one in another area. What we're doing here is really just having a one pager, right, for all of the specifics of the configuration, right? So at all times, this is extremely simple to deliver, right? This is extremely quick and really improves my experience as a citizen developer, because I don't really need to move between all of the different areas of the application, right? And again, the changes there are going to be applied straight away, right? If we're going to have any expense details area, this is where it's going to be added, right? If I would need to change the structure of this detail or many-to-one connections, I could do that from here as well. Now, this is, again, some of the very first initial steps. Right now, obviously, as part of the other areas, what we can say that we might be actually creating some mini pages for viewing, for adding, for editing, for viewing the record. And I as well would need to have an approval enabled as part of this workflow, right? As part of this process. And the great thing here is that approvals enablement is only taking a couple clicks, right? But straight away, this is where you can also see an approval area is already added to the list, which means that, if there's going to be a business application template that I need to create and approving, delivering approvals as part of the processes there, enabling this whole very specific set of functionality only takes literally one click, right? So there are really no additional steps, additional measures that need to be taken by citizen developers. And again, all of the changes are being applied at the speed of light, right? This is my development environment, but as a non-professional developer, right, this is really making my life very simple when I'm working on an expense management app. So from here, what we can do, right, once we apply the settings, is now move to other areas in the configuration. So first of all, I can actually specify the status field as the one that is going to be driving my DCM. And guys, we're now working on the dynamic case management framework, a framework that is widely used for human workflows, for processes that are unstructured, right, that are more agile. I call them sometimes chaotic, right, where we don't really care about the sequence of steps as such on a very high level, right? We need to have a user work within a framework of actions, if you may, right, and then actually deliver what are specific steps that they're going to be provided with as part of each of the stages. So just like any specific process, right, any specific kind of a step-based processing of a record for expenses, when we're submitting them, we normally identify a few default stages. ECM, perfect. So first of all, the very first stage that we usually add here is going to be drafts, right? This is identifying the initial stage from where we can start. We've got the draft stage here. Then we can have a review that's going to be performed by another role, right? We might have an approval, right? We might have a settlement. If we need, for example, to reimburse our employee who's emitting these expenses, right? These the expenses that are provided. And then we might have just a quick one as completed, right? Or even canceled. Maybe someone has changed their mind and this is not an expense that they want to manage. And one of the things here as well, part of the DCM is that even though DCM is more fluid, is more agile, part of the philosophy here is that we still need to have a certain level of control and automation of how the users can navigate between these stages, how they can navigate from one stage to another. So for instance, under each of these stages, I can actually define that from draft, we cannot go to approval, settlement, or completed, right? We can only go to review or cancel. So this is exactly what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to say that we can go to review or just canceled, right? From review, we can only go to approval or cancel or back to draft if we need to roll it back, right? For approval, we can only go to settlement, settlement or canceled, right? Or back to review. From the same way, just from settlement, we can actually just go to completed or canceled, or even just completed, right? And that's it. And you can see here that all of these further settings that are actually automatically applied, right? So there's backward compatibility, if you may say. And yeah, so far, this is how we're going to be moving between these stages forward, right? We can as well define how exactly we're going to be moving to the next stage. We've got a way to define if it's going to be only manual transition, if required steps are completed, or if all steps are completed, right? So let's say from draft, we want to move to review only manually. From review, we're going to move automatically if all steps are completed, right? From approval, if the required steps are completed. From settlements, we can have more level of control over how the users are going to be navigating, right? So again, only manual condition here. Okay, so these are kind of the first steps that we are really envisioning, right? And again, the point here is that really in the background, the system is automatically generating all of these steps, all of the visuals, all of the schemas that are required for this application to be operatable, right? So if we go back real quick and have a quick check, right, what we can see here is that straight away we've got the standard kind of a UI, we've got the expense details that we talked about, right? We also have all of these stages already available for the users, right? And this is again going to help us define how we're going to be moving. And this area on top of the screen is something that we call the actions dashboard, right? This is where the users will have all of the steps generated for them. And this is where they can actually schedule, ad hoc activities and some ad hoc emails if needed, post and kind of tag users, right? And just work with their tasks related to this step. Mike, anything you want to add to what I've covered?
So far, yeah, no, I think for now you're good. Maybe we just need to add some a little bit of color coding or the DCM, because I believe we have a few steps that are in green. Maybe this we can work something out there.
Yeah, well, definitely the steps here are actually going to be quite visible, right? And yeah, I agree that adding visuals is always a great idea for the end users because it kind of helps it to make it more, accessible visually from one quick view on the record. And one of the ways that we can enhance the user experience, the end user experience working with any record in Creatio, right, is by actually using page elements. And this is actually a great way of adding any additional views over the data that we're going to have available. Because right here, I can use a metric and the design experience is again quite similar, or just drag and drop it to the available space on the grid. So I can create it on. So I can add a metric for when the expense was actually created on, right? So in this case, this will help me to actually understand when exactly this was created, if we're actually lagging behind in managing it, right? So if there is no issue in actually providing this. And we're going to see that, this can display time. This can actually just have kind of the formats. Again, this is going to coming in from the profile of the user. And might have just a different coloring, right? Just in case we want to make it a little bit more suiting towards the preference of the users, right? So again, just make some space for the users, just like that, right? I can actually then remove created on from the list of the records there, right? So there's no need. But the other point here is that I can as well add a gauge, for example, to show the total expense within this record that was added, just so that we can as well specify that if we have certain limits, right, of total expenses submitted, we can actually as well just visually display this. Maybe this is going to help the users to understand which approval route this is going to come in, right? So we can actually say that the scales here might be 1,000 to 2,500, then let's say 5,000 and 7,500, right? So this visual metric, again, is going to help understand what is the current value of expense, if it's going to go in through just one step of approval, if it's going to go through multiple steps or layers of approvals, right? If it actually needs to go through many approval processes, right? So in this case, again, just add this to the view. right? And just again, just like that, this is going to be generating the front end user interface, right? Again, all of the changes here are going to be applied momentarily, right? Of course, we can actually build additional functionality areas around it. We can be actually going to creation of the business rules to as well kind of help this be a little bit more guided, right? But it is not required. Again, if your business application is quite simple, right, there's no need to go extra overcomplicated configuration, right? We can just use the standard kind of ways and standard kind of ways of outlining the interface and what's going to be made available for the users. Okay, perfect. Now let's again quickly check in, see if we've got all of these steps needed. And just not to waste time, again, we are 22 minutes in for the configuration here, right, Mike? We're on a time scale, and you probably will need around 20 minutes to do some of your steps. We're just going to continue with the configuration. So now that we've actually added some of the visuals, right, now that we have the basic structure of the case of the DCM, right, we can actually go into the outline of the steps that are going to be completed, right? So first of all, we're going to go through the draft stage and outline what could be the actions that can be performed here. So we can specify something like right, so specifying the expense details before submitting for review. Definitely kind of mentioning that, you know, the user has to acknowledge that everything has been specified and added there. On the right-hand side is where we actually see the settings of this specific step, right? This is where we can see the caption. This is where we can see who performs the task, right? Who's going to be the contact, the hints for well, who's going to be kind of responsible for performing this task, and a few more here that we can, of course, submit and apply the setting for a user role, right? That's something that we're actually going to do. We can then actually see what is the task category, you know, when it should start, the planned duration, and all of the fun that is related to this step, right? So once we've got the step type, it might be optional, might be required. Again, can have a little bit more of a conditional transition between these steps. So even though DCM, again, is a little bit of a more structure, more flexible way of defining the records, a more flexible way of defining the workflows for the end users to operate within, right? We're still actually can have control over how they're going to be completing these steps. And another point here that I can actually as well just have an email generated as a notification, right? So send a notification. And the point here is that within the same area that I'm going to be creating tasks for the users, I can as well have something that is going to be performed by the system automatically, right? So say that the email should be sent out automatically. It might be already a templated message that I created in the email templates, or it might be custom message, right? And in this case, the creation of the content for this email is as well going to be performed out of the same step. Right now, I don't want to have this email added because I believe that my users are all going to be working within the same system, right? And perhaps we only need to notify the approver or the person who's going to request this expense to be compensated about the results of the expense processing, right? So this is kind of the first step. Under review, again, I can say that we'll review expense details, right? I can say that this should be done if additional information is needed. Check if no attachments are present. Right, so basically within the expenses, we might be attaching some of the checks, right, for the expense. We can specify the details. So we want to make sure that all of the attachments are added and listed, right? This is where we as well kind of on the right-hand side can mark any step as required, right? And this would be not a user who's going to be performing this step, right? So depending on the structure of who's going to be running the review of this approval, right, we can do as a manager, or we can just do it as a role. And in this case, we can actually refer back to our organizational role settings, right? And if we don't see a group that might be working for this as part of this role, just go to our Studio Workplace and go to our system users, right? This is where we actually manage the organizational roles, right? This is where we might be actually saying that we have a division. So let's say administration, those users who are actually going to be managing some of the steps, right, that we are going to be involving in this process. So we're going to add the administration. We're going to go back to the list, right? And now we've got the administration and the managers group already available, right? So at the same time, I can just easily kind of go through the flow of configuration, right? I want to make sure that all of my steps are assigned to the same department, right? And I want to make sure that everybody's going to get their list of steps to complete. Perfect.
Alex, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So just a side remark that depending on what steps you have here, maybe some of them just might be automated, right? Instead of assigning them to some people, you always can apply some business rules, right? To just to make sure that you perform all the validations automatically that you can, not to overload people with unnecessary work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we are actually going to be doing some additional steps as part of the approval process here, right? But this is where I can, again, just add a couple more steps. So we might have the settlement that is going to be performed by the finance department, right? Again, I can add the division here. So we've got the finance here. I can actually then go to completed stage. Well, again, this is going to be just straight away performed by a role. So do something like this, right? Again, these are some of the kind of a slower steps where you have to put in a little bit of thought into how you're going to be having this process automated. But another point here is quite important that at all times, right? If I wanted to somehow change the structure of this process, I can actually reposition the whole stages with all of the steps, right, between them. Or I can take and have some of these actions kind of moved around as well, right? So actually have full drag and drop point and click style configuration of, specifying how exactly these are going to be performed, right? And of course, in this case, I can actually go and say as well say that this specific step is going to be performed after the previous one, right? So checking after that all of the attachments are present, right? And of course, as part of the completed, probably what I want to do is restrict access rights to record, just so that nobody else can modify this record after it's been completed, right? So this is where we're going to say that this is based on the expense records, right? This is where we say which record we want to modify access to, right? Again, kind of having a little bit more of a advanced configuration. And we want to remove the access from modifying and deleting from this record, right? At the same time, we've got the change access rights here. Oops, a little typo. All right, so again, kind of do the same settings here. And yep. Right, and again, just remove these two. Right, so these are going to be performed automatically. And I kind of went through these first initial steps of configuration. Again, everybody's going to have their own process, right? Everybody's going to have their own order of processing of expenses. I believe that this is kind of the most generic, most uniform that way I can actually come up with. And what we can do from here is work on the approval. So of course, part of the process, if you guys remember, when we were working on the UI, we've enabled approvals for this record, right? But part of the approval stage was usually happening that there might be just a simple approval, right? An approval sign off that we're going to be delivering. But quite often, and probably 99% of all of the processes that I've seen, approvals are never that simple, right? There are at least a couple approvals involved depending on the total value depending on something else, right? On the position, depending on the type of the request and type of the expenses. So what I want to do here, I want to actually create an approval process that we're going to be executing and we're going to be evoking as part of this stage. So even though DCM stands for more of a dynamic case, right, for agile processes that I mentioned, quite often we see that part of these agile processes, we might have a more of a well-defined sequence of steps that will need to take place, right? An approval stage is usually an excellent example of that, because during the approvals is where we actually have more structured approach, right, involving multiple departments, multiple users. So in this case, we can go to our process management engine, right, and approval process for expenses. And the design experience here is going to be very simple, right, and very similar to what we're doing across all of the application. So in this case, we've got the item list on the left-hand side, we've got the settings panel on the right-hand side, right? And the very first step for me here is to connect the expenses to the process through a global parameter, right? This is where I'm adding the expense lookup, right? And straight away, I can actually read the data. So again, use the CRUD operations to make sure that I'm getting the info from the record that is initiating this instance of the process, right? And of course, under process parameters, just straight away go and specify what is needed on the settings. Right, I'm gonna read the expense data one more time since I missed it a little bit there. And what we're gonna do next. So Mike, as far as I wanna build this app, and again, you can throw in some ideas. Since we have some of the total value of the expense, right? Let's kind of go back to it. We can actually have 2 or 3 levels of the expenses, right, coming in based on the total value of what's going to be added. And by the way, we've got the 2 metrics available right here, right? We're going to look at them as we're going to move through the process. So right here, we've got the approval process for expenses, right? We already have the IDs connected. And this is going to be saving the DCM settings straight away as well. So I'm going back to the process. This is where we can start adding our tasks. And definitely this is where we first of all can start with the manager approval, right? This is where we can actually say that approval required for submitted expenses, right? Approval section is our expenses list. And again, we can run approvals based on pretty much any record in the system, right? The process parameters is going to list us to the expense records. And the approval is going to be the employee's manager, right? And who's going to be our employee? Well, clearly, we're going to create based on the person who creates this expense, right? And just like another type of settings that might help us here, read employee data, right? So we can actually match the employee towards the contact of who created this record. So similar to what we've done, we can use the, we can do the employee record where the ID, where the contact actually is going to be the contact of who created the request, right? So we've got this done here, and again, just matching this up. And I believe that it is going to be quite important for our partners, right, and anyone participants in the hackathon or in general who's going to be creating the applications, is to keep in mind that practice makes perfect, right? I've been working with Creatio's platform for almost 10 years now, and you'll learn every day as well, right? You can do the same processes day to day, and yet you're going to be making some errors, making some mistakes in the design, and the whole design kind of a best practice comes with practice, right? So for everyone who is just starting their journey with Creatio, I would definitely encourage everyone to kind of be encouraged to try and to make mistakes, because this is how you really learn, right? And it's totally fine to make mistakes in the very beginning, right? Because you can only learn from them. So this is kind of the first conditioning behind the process that we're putting together, right? This is where we've got the negative or positive approval from our manager, right? And in this case, we can actually just continue from one of the flows here. So once we have the positive approval, what we want to do is actually as well add another exclusive gateway, and as well just kind of have a look into the expense data and look at the total, right? And in this case, we can say that if the expense of the total expense within this expense request is going to be less or less than what was the first year, Mike? If you remember, that was the
1,000, I believe.
1,000. Yeah. So if it's going to be just 1,000, then maybe. Oops. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay. So right here, we can actually, under this settings of exclusive gateway, we're going to say that this is what is the expense total, right? Kind of following the best practice for BPMN design. If it's less than 1,000, then perhaps we just want to change the stage for the expense to directly as in settlement, right? So we just have one quick approval that is going to be delivered. And in this case, again, we're just going to be interacting with the CRUD operations or our record. We've got the ID that we're going to be comparing it by, right? Just do it by the ID here. Oh, and actually modify. That is right. That's fine. So expenses, okay, ID. Perfect. And field, and the status for us here is going to be assigned straight away to settlement, right? Perfect. Now, in the same way, what I can do, right, since now I have this first step, I can actually change this, well, copy the element, first of all, to make it very easy for me to, go to kind of redo the same logic, but even with small adjustments here and there. Is say that right here, status is going to be back to review, right? If the manager that is actually providing the approval says that there are some changes that need to be made, right? So right here, I can actually just connect these two, just update the lookup value that we're going to be linking it to, right? And again, just making sure that all of the flows and all of the steps are connected. Since the BPMN kind of best practice is to have all of the items linked together, right? Nobody should be left hanging. Everyone has to have a start and a terminate. Perfect. So we've got this first kind of 2 or 3 even conditions, right? First of all, based on the results of the approval. Second, based on the total value of expense, right? Again, I can change the positions of captions if I wanted to make my diagram a little bit better reading, right? And from there, can actually as well just continue the design. And you can see how native it all feels like. It feels very natural, very crisp, very clean, smooth. And again, right here, we're going to say that if our expense total is greater than 1,000, less than 2.5, right, Mike? Right, we're going to just do another flow of the process. So again, we're going to take our total. We're going to say that it might equal or be greater than 1,000. Right, and then also actually, I think
Yeah,
there we go, perfect. All right, perfect. So greater than 1,000. Now we take this out right here, right? And finance approval. Again, we've got the same kind of step. Of course, I could have just copied this, but I wanted to show you some of the the design experience in this case. So we're going through the ID. In this case, we might say that this is now going to be a role, right? So this again actually can go to the finance department, right? And from here, it's all a very similar experience, right? So we can say that we've got the positive, the condition here. So this is a positive, right? If this is going to be negative, we want to bring it to the review stage, right? Again, Mike, as you remember, we've got some of these steps actually already incorporated for managing of these requests and provide comments, right? So it's going to be quite easy for them to manage these steps. So just going to pretty it up a little bit to make it a little bit easier to read. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And again, if it's positive, negative, then we can just do another conditioning, right? So we've got another tier that is over 2,500. Yeah. And in this case, just going to do a little bit more time here. So we're going to do another settlements, right? Just copy the flow here. Just do another condition. It's less than 2.5. And yeah, so the design here is going to be quite similar, right? And if what we also can have just this element copied, right? Again, kind of streamlining the whole experience.
Yeah, while you're doing it, just a couple side notes on how you can optimize this process. So actually, yeah, just a few things to note is that Alex here is using read data elements. So a good practice and the best practice, I would say, just to include like read only the data you need, right? But because there might be large tables having a lot of different columns. So just to make sure for your process to run smoothly and as most optimal as you can, then make sure you read only the data you need. And also maybe it's a good idea sometimes to run your processes in background. So you always have ability to say that, okay, this process will run in background, meaning that you do not need user interaction. Then this will mean that the user interface will not be blocked, and our Creatio backend system will make sure that this process will execute in background and will do everything while users can continue working in the system.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, actually great side notes on the best practice for the design, right? Of course, depending on the complexity, depending on the use cases, we might have really, just a few columns read through the application, right? Depending on the purpose here as well. But quite often you're correct, right? We want to make it as efficient as possible in the design. And I believe that this is a good place to start, right? When it gets to the expense management, guys. Now, definitely a few words and a few mentions here is that this is a very high level process, right? And we're only using some of the base elements of the configuration within the approval step, right? Because we only have some of the expense data here, some reading, some of the updating of the stages and approvals. But keep in mind that within the design of the process, you can, of course, incorporate multiple steps in performing tasks, answering system questions, working with open edit pages, pre-configured pages, right? You can as well just have a lot of CRUD operations performed. So for reading, adding, updating, deleting data, formula calculations, changing access rights that we've done adjustment through the DCM. So some of the functionality is quite similar. Right, we've got the processing of file, we've got the call web service elements and predicting data. And the call web service element here is actually an amazing thing, right? This would actually allow us to integrate Creatio live with third-party application just as part of the execution of this process, right? So if we had a need in integrating this with an accounting software, with an ERP, this is actually would allow us to connect these two straight away, right? And this is, again, how simple we believe that integration should be with Creatio third-party applications, right? This is how we can make the task of integrating applications in the world a lot simpler and easier for everybody out there, even for non-professional developers. So at this point, let's just summarize, because we're 46 minutes in, or maybe around 45. What we've accomplished is that we've done a pretty simple yet very rich user interface, right, for all of the details, well, most of the details of the expenses that we're going to be tracking. We've got the DCM with some of the steps already added as well, right? And we've got some of the process for multi-level approval. Now, of course, in this case, there are many other settings that we could apply, but we just want to keep this quite basic and quite base generic for template purposes, right? So a few more words that I wanted to mention before we jump forward, right? So this process right here is actually going to be executed as part of the approval stage within the DCM, right? But within Creatio, we actually have the ability of building applications and building processes that are going to be standing completely outside of the DCM, right? Not something that's going to be executed together with DCM, but as a standalone process, a reusable component. And this is where we can as well create a process to apply kind of numeric value to the expenses that we're going to be submitting, right? So if this is a request of managing expenses and reimbursement of expenses, we can actually create this process that's going to be triggered by a data signal, right? We can say that the expenses were created. We can then point out to a specific data object, record was added. So again, simple configuration. Then we can actually read how many records in the expense record is there. Records in expenses, right? Again, we just use expenses objects, just perform a different function. In this case, we're going to be calculating number of records right here at this time, and then we can straight away just modify data, the number for the expense. So what I want to do here, I want to take the expenses, right? I want to mention which record I'm going to be updating. This is the one that triggered my process, and I'm going to take my number field and say that there is going to be a formula that is going to be applied to this. So we're going to take our number of records, we're going to add 1, and we're going to convert it to string, just like this, right? And at all times when you're working within Creatio, there's always, a little guidelines on how to work with certain elements, how to configure them, right? And this can be actually helping you in your design time of the application.
And
so,
just a side note also that there are different ways to apply this auto numbering. So in some cases, you would like to do it on the front end. So if you need that, just check our Creatio Academy. We have great articles on how to do that. And also, in some cases, maybe you need to specify some mask, right? Not only the number, but some specific prefix before the number, and then change it through the time. Then you can use system settings for that. For instance, like use one system setting to store the ordinal number, and another system settings, for instance, to have the prefix. So there are different ways how you can organize it, and yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, and I almost forgot about the prefix for a record, right? But yeah, once we save this, right, we can actually see that we've got the record here available, right? We actually have some of the processes standing behind them, right? We can specify the expense details before submitting for review, right? This is where we can actually say that we're going to be adding, well, let's do something quite simple, right? We can do just 999. Then we've got the review stage. This is where we've got another 2 steps, right? We've got some conditional formatting for the steps where we actually need to perform the completed step, and then we're going to have another task, right? Identify if additional steps are, if everything is in place, right? Then once we complete these steps here, we're actually going to be running into the approval stage, if I'm not mistaken. Right, and actually, because we've got 999 on our total, so less than 1,000, we went to settlement straight away, right? And this is where we've got other steps to perform the payout by the finance department, right? So on the very high level, I believe that this is something very simple that we can configure. Right, again, keep in mind that at all times, as we're going through the configuration, we've got the options to go to detailed setups. Right, we've got the approvals area, we've got the area for managing attachments, files, right? We've got the internal collaboration feed between the internal users of the system, right? And overall, as a basis, as a structure, we of course have some of this ready, right? Now we can of course continue with some of the additional features for this application. I'm not going to take no more than 21 minutes. Right, but definitely wanted to mention that as part of the configuration, if we wanted to, we can always go to our workplace setup and we can do a few things. Right, so first of all, we can do the expense management workplace. Right, we can add some sections here. So let's say accounts, contacts. Well, let's do something even more simple. We've got employees' expenses. Just skip up the feed. Right, and yeah, just like do it like this. We can mention that this is going to be available for finance department, for group managers, for all the employees, right? So somebody who might be submitting expenses or just working with expenses. And overall, there's a few more things here. If we wanted to, we can as well just include this new section into the portal configuration. Right, that is going to be creating a separate area for portal expenses, right? And this is something that we can classically use for the self-service portal amongst employees and amongst employees of the company that are not going to be full-time users of the system, right? I'm not going to be going through the step of configuring of this section there because it's just going to be reusing some of the existing data points and data attributes, so I don't want to waste time there. Right, but the idea here is that it can actually as well just create a limited type of access for those users that are not going to be working with Creatio 24/7. They only need to submit their expense, check on their statuses, right, and that's it. So another ways that we can as well involve additional users into working with Creatio. And of course, another point here is that within each of the workspaces, right, we actually have a new way, something that we've released quite recently, Mike, if you remember our release notes for 7.18,
yeah,
the home pages, right? And this is a great way of bringing visuals, bringing kind of a one-page summaries and views over how the application is going to be providing summary data, right? And this is our new shiny Angular design features that we're actually going to be extending and building and using as a basis for the to use across all of the different applications, right? So if we wanted to have a visual, we can actually quickly just outline those using our homepage design, right? So I'm going to have 4 metrics available on top of the screen, right? Maybe I want to have another kind of donuts made available right here, right? And I'm going to just copy, place it here as well, right? And then, for instance, I'm going to have a bar chart. So right here on the screen as well, right? So something kind of a base layout, base structure blueprint of what the analytics are going to look like. And from here, right, it is just jumping into the configuration of each of these steps. Right, so the design of the homepages so far is kind of based on our dashboard configuration, but this is going to change as well, right? So we can have total expense value, right? We've got the expenses, number of records, right? But I can change it to summary, so it then can go to total, right? We've got kind of the straightaway view already applied. If I know that there's going to be specific base currency, I can just put on some of the markers right here, and boom, we've got this already added, right? If I want to actually change some of these. Well, I can copy the already configured one and can say that these are the total expense value in progress, right? So those that are not actually yet approved, right? And this can be just bright red. I can add some status exceptions. So have just a very simple kind of a native way of working with this, right? So say that it should not be canceled or approved, right? And again, those are kind of like currently yet in the settlement period. So I'm just going to look like this, right? I can then actually say that we have the total expenses, total expense record, right? So this is actually going to be the count that is going to be submitted by the users. Again, this doesn't need to be decimal. This can be just as a integer, right? And again, I can actually just say that this doesn't matter. I just don't want to make it bright red, right? I can just make it as partially color, plain white, something like this. And for instance, right here, I can do just an average. Right, let's make it dark green, plain white. So a lot of ways that you can bring visibility over the analytics, right? A lot of ways that you can actually have this carried out to your users, right? And again, the point here is that these are going to be updated automatically as you work with the system, right? And for instance, we can just do another chart here. This is going to be our bar chart. By users, right? So the expense, we've got the count, the bar chart, the column is going to be created by, boom, straight away, we've got this straight away, available straight away, right? This is going to be submitted. Of course, I could just actually as well just have this kind of displayed in multiple series just so that I've got comparative for something that is currently in progress, something that has been already approved, something that has been yet to be defined. So can I have more of a stacked charts, right? I can but let's just keep it quite simple as of now, right? And again, just save this up real quick, right? And straight away, just in a couple of seconds after we're saving this, it will be made available in the application, right? So even if we go to Creatio, just refresh the screen, we go to our expense management app, right? If we go to the applications real quick here. Okay, hold on. All right, yeah. So let's just go to System Designer one more time. We're going to go to Workplace Setup. Okay, there we go. So this is our kind of quick homepage to manage the expenses, right? We've got all of the values. Again, if we were just updating some of the values from the expenses section, right, that would be updating the data around the home pages. So just like what we mentioned, right, using Creatio to configure these is very simple. It's very straightforward, right? It doesn't take a lot of time. And of course, there's great work that has been put together by our developers, right? So our research and development departments, because everything that we're doing from the point and click style of configuration, drag and drop configuration around the section settings, right? Everything that is around our BPM design, right? Everything that is related towards the portal configuration, towards the DCM, everything here is made possible by an amazing job and amazing work of our R&D, right? And everything that we're doing through low-code and no-code tools is actually generating schemas and configurations that are then actually driving the application. So Mike, I know that we've got roughly 30 minutes, but maybe we could now switch to your screen to show the audience how we can as well kind of prep the application that they're going to be creating into a package, right? And how to submit it. First of all, for review by our team as part of the hackathon, right? And I believe we want to show how to interact with the marketplace. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. All right.
Perfect.
So
Let me stop sharing real quick. Yeah. Okay, perfect. And now let's switch back to your screen.
okay, so I'm sharing my screen. I'm not. Are you able to see my screen? So just to make sure that everyone.
Yeah. We're good. We're good, Mike. Yeah.
Okay. So thanks, Alex, for your presentation. So let me do some housekeeping, if you may. Right. So the first thing probably we would need to do in order to prepare our package to submit it to, let's say, the hackathon, or to publish it to marketplace, just to make sure that we have everything at place, and just to verify that we have all the data inside of it, and we have everything in the package. So I would say that currently we were developing all the stuff in a custom package, right? And it's actually not the good way to publish something like that on the marketplace, on the hackathon, because this package is actually designed to be used on the end user environment, right? And we'll need to change it. We're gonna create new package for that. But before we do it, I just want to make sure that we have all the data bindings in place. So first of all, I'm going to the lookup section, and if I'm sorted here, I can see, Alex, that you have created two lookups, right? This was the expense status and expense type of expenses, right? So just want to make sure that we have this data in our package, so it will not be it will be transferred with the package along to other environments where it's going to be deployed. So for the expense stages, so in order to do that, I'll go to this package, and I'll click on data tab. And here, as you can see, there is a bunch of different data bindings. And as I can see here, the system, or DCM, is automatically generated an data binding for me. So we already have this new expense stages, just like draft, review, settlement, etc., already bound into a package. So I just verified that, and it will be installed with the package. So we are good here. But for now, we do not have any records in the expense statuses. So system has not, not expense, but rather type of expense statuses. So system will not do it automatically. So let's say if we'll have in this package, we need to have something like travel expense. And for instance, in this scenario, we will need to bind this value, bind this data to the package. So in order to do so, you can go to the advanced configuration settings, plus add some data here, then select what is the object that we need to bind. And in this situation, this is type of expense. So I'll try to look for type of expense here. So I believe it's here, expense type. And once I selected it, I can put this value. And yeah, that's about it. So it's pretty straightforward. So if you want to have some data which belongs to configuration, not like a test data when you're testing something on your environment, but rather the data that is lookup values, then you need to create data bindings, and then you are good to go. And so as I can see, all the data is here. We have also, just to make sure that, okay, we have some objects here. We also have, what else we've got? We've got a business process for approval expense, and we have apply enumeration expense. So I think we are fine, but the only thing we need to do before publishing it somewhere else, we need to actually create a package and move all the content of the custom package to our package, which will belong to the expense management. So I'll call it with a prefix. It was PAG, I believe. or what was the prefix? Yeah, it was PAG.
Yeah, I can just use PAG, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be PAG expense management. So it's going to be file. And yeah, I can provide some description here. I don't use version control system for now, so I don't need to commit it. And so once I have this package, the only thing I need to do actually is just to move all the contents of this custom package. So I can simply use this action to move items to another package, and I'll select the expense management package, and system should automatically move everything for me. And actually, I have not specified any of dependency of this package, and let's see if the system will be able to resolve it by itself. If not, then we will need to specify it manually. So just a command that dependency. Yeah, so it says that there are no dependency. That's fine. That's fine. I can go and create the actually add the dependencies to this package. So let's see what we need to add. Okay, so actually, let's see the dependency graph on how package dependency diagram. So let's just find like what dependencies do we need to move this data into, move these items into a package. So just to make it easier, I'll put dependency on the Studio product, because it is the very bottom package of the whole package hierarchy. So this should do it. So I search for Studio, and I apply this dependency. So now my expense management package will depend on the Studio product. Thus, it will inherit all the out-of-the-box features and all the schemas and the content. So then I'll be able to use it inside this package. So let's give it a try again. So let's try to select. Okay, well, let's see the results. So, but initially, I would say that the best practice probably would be just create your package from scratch and then start development inside the package. Then you will not need to move it later on. So let's see what else we have here. So it says that some.
All right, interesting. Well, there's definitely, the Murphy law. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Mike, I know that we have some of the other sessions of this kickoff day almost up to the end, right? If we can now look at how would someone publish and submit an application to Marketplace, right, or through the web form, that would be great. So we can close up this session a little bit sooner and maybe move to the Q&A.
Sure, yeah, definitely. So then let me show you how you publish this package. So first, when your package is ready, because yeah, we are running out of time, but their errors are fine. It's we can resolve it. But the first thing you need to do is just to export your package to an archive. So then all the configuration changes that you have done, they will be bundled into a zip archive. So then it can be delivered and transferred to another environment just by installing this archive. Install this archive from Creatio user interface. Once you did it, and you want to publish results of your work on the Creatio hackathon, what you need to do is just to go to the Creatio Hackathon, no-code hackathon platform, and then you'll find the materials for participants. And aside from all different kind of information, you'll find the like entries for requirements and all kind of different stuff, but you'll see here a link to submit your solution for the review. Okay, so if you click there, you'll find a simple Google form where you need to provide all the information about yourself, your first name, your company name, your email, just come up with a great solution name of your app. You just provide it, whether your application is add-on, template, or connector. So for instance, in this scenario, we have a add-on application. Provide a great description on what application is doing, what are the features are covered in this application. Then you have ability to provide a link on your trial environment. So in case if we'll need to review it, we're gonna be able to request credentials and log into your environment. And of course, you need to provide a demo video link. So then our jury can review your presentation and decide whether you are the one who will get the prize on each and every nomination. And of course, obviously, you need to upload your package that I have pre-exported. So if I click here, I just upload the archive package, I upload the video, or you can share a link to a video and any supplementary documentations that you want to provide with your submission. And that's about it. Then you can submit and submit your entry, and we're gonna review your application and decide what is the best application. And the last thing probably that I want to show you, because like if you will be so excited with your app and you see that you want to share this app with Creatio community, then you can simply go to Creatio Marketplace and publish this application to the whole community, either to just to share your ideas, share your thoughts, and make this application publicly accessible for free, or maybe to start a new business, right? And create application, make your support processes in place, and then sell it over Creatio Marketplace. So to do so, the great place to start would be to go to Creatio Marketplace page. If you go, there is in the very bottom of the Creatio Marketplace, you'll find a quick start page, and then you have a button to register on Developer Workplace. When you do it, you need to specify just basic information about your, so essentially create your developer profile, provide us with some basic information about yourself, about your team. And when it's done, then you can submit application with, create your application and submit your app for a review. To do that, it's just a matter of few simple clicks to specify your product name, select product category, again, whether it's add-on, connector, or software solution. Let's say it's add-on. You always have an option to specify deployments, right? So whether it is suitable to be deployed only for cloud users, or maybe it's also suitable for cloud and on-site. Then provide some additional information like logo and demo link. And there is a couple of steps that need to be covered, additional steps that need to be covered, like specify the compatibility, right? So for instance, like what products your application is compatible with. So if you are building a product on top of Studio, then it will automatically be compatible with each and every other product like sales, service, marketing, financial services, because the Studio is the core platform and all other products are built on top of it. If you are building, let's say, add-on only for sales or service, you also have an option to do that. So just make sure you specify the proper compatibility and make sure your app is compatible with a particular version of Creatio, specify the version where this app was developed, and also database management compatibility. So by default, Creatio comes with an ORM system, and if you are using our built-in ORM, it will be automatically compatible with all supported database management system. And for now, it's Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, and PostgreSQL. And obviously, of course, all the low-code, no-code tools like DCM, the Business Process Engine, etc. All the customizations which are done through the no-code wizard will be automatically compatible with all database management systems. And also, like while publishing your solution on Marketplace, there is a little bit more complex, I would say, scenario, because you'll need to provide some additional guidance on how some user should install this and manage this application on their environment. Obviously, you also provide your package installation, and we have some specific thing like licensing. So if you will get to publish your Creatio application on the marketplace, we have a dedicated section on Creatio Academy with all details how to do that and how to create licenses in order to, make sure that your application is distributed properly. And the last thing is to specify the pricing model. So this could be either a free app available for all the communities, so called like open source app, or as you will, and also this might be a subscription application where users will pay like annual subscription per user. And then you can have additional sales channel and additional stream, like a value stream to yourself and to your company. So I think that's about it. That's what I wanted to share.
Perfect, Mike. Thank you very much for this great demonstration. Right. Again, it's always incredible to see how fast and simple it is to manage, the design. The design time with Creatio, again, just less than an hour and a half, we were able to put together some generic user interface, right? Have a very simple kind of visualization part on the UI added, have a DCM, have a BPM approach kind of implemented to drive the expense management. Again, very high level, but something that customers would be able to take benefit from, right, and can reuse later stage. And of course, we've added, created a homepage that's going to be adding, a whole new experience to how dealers are working with the expenses, right? So have better understanding of the totals, of the overview of the platform. And I see that now we have our Q&A team joining the tracks. Hi, Kirill. Hi, Elena. How are you doing today, guys?
Hi, guys.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining me on the Q&A session. Thank you for helping us with the training tracks, right, and how to create add-ons and QAs. I know that you had quite a few participants. The chat was quite active. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a few questions here and there on what you were guys delivering, if that's fine with you. Okay?
Yeah, sure. By all means.
Perfect. All right, perfect. So the first question that we actually wanted to was in relate to is the template track. I'm just having a few questions brought in here, so just reading through them quite quickly. On the template track, we had a question about automatic escalations in case managers not respond in specific time. Can anyone would like anyone answer that? Because I know that everybody has all the answers.
Yeah, I will answer this question. So yes, definitely you can create an escalation process. Basically, there's different ways you can handle this. Basically, what you would like probably to do a process that will track whether a complaint was unprocessed for a certain period of time. And if it was, you can add a timer, basically, which will wait for a certain amount of time. And again, using the event-based gateway, you can help the process basically branch out into whether the timer finishes first or the complaint was actually resolved or an investigation has been started. So basically, there is a way to handle this, and this does not require any code. You can do this in the process designer.
Perfect. Thank you, Elena. This is very helpful. Another question that I have here, again, we can just answer it real quick. Where do we find the packages tab, guys? In the advanced settings, in the configuration, we've got on the left-hand side all of the packages that are available within that configuration. Now, we can also carry on quite an interesting one, actually, coming outside of the tracks on trainings. But guys, what is your favorite app of 2020, year 2020? If you are working with different applications, pretty sure that you have your favorite ones. Lena, Kirill?
2020, I don't know, that might be difficult. A Zoom one, probably. I don't know. Was it a 2020 app?
Well, this is the one that we use the most, that's for sure. Yeah, so I think that must be it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's move on, guys. Kirill, probably a great question for you. Can we create a page directly inside Creatio which does not require authentication?
So it's a double-sided answer, and if it relates to our track, then yes, absolutely, we can do that. We just create a web service, and we do a couple of things there, and then we return a data stream instead of a data model. And yes, we can basically create our own HTML pages there. I believe there is also an example of how to actually go about doing it on the Academy. So yes, the short answer is yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. And the question here is also, do we need access to the source code to build this add-on?
Right. So what we've provided is fairly heavy on development, especially on the survey side. So in order for you to deploy the solution, you do need to clone the repository we provided. And if you watch the video all the way to the end, there will be a link to our GitHub. So just go ahead and download it, open it in Visual Studio, press F5, and you're done. So everything is built, but you do need to build your own libraries, and you do need to upload them to whatever the solution or whatever the test environment that you're using. The other thing that I think we forgot to mention somewhere in the website or somewhere in the videos is how to actually configure it. Now, the description how to configure anonymous web services is provided on the GitHub and the README. So just go ahead and read it. It references you to the Academy article, and there is a link there, and you have to do some configurations. If you're using, some other common cloud instances and you can't do it by yourself, then there are other ways that are fully explained in the article how to do that. So essentially, you have to build it. Yes.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Kirill. Mike, probably a more generic question towards the whole idea of, the whole T's and C's of the hackathon. Can we use our own Creatio instance, or do we have to use the trial only?
Yeah, great question. Actually, you can do both. So it depends on your preference and your skill set. If you are familiar with how to deploy Creatio on site, and you have a machine for that, and usually like a regular laptop is good enough to deploy Creatio for your development purpose. But if you are not familiar how to do that, probably I would recommend you just to go with a trial, because it's just gonna be one click and you're live, you're good to go, and you can set up your application. And yeah, that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mike, and another question to you. Can the participants of the hackathon submit more than just one application?
Yes, definitely. We would encourage you to do that even, right? So if you have time and you want to submit multiple applications, yeah, you're good to go. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now, I also have a few questions from the main track that we were running, specifically around if cases can be role or access specific. So usually we deliver different cases as DCMs configuration based on the type of the record that we're running. right? So if the type of the expense is based on travel expenses or business expenses or general, right? Just to define different workflows. And then within those workflows, we can have different flows defined based on the role, based on the access rule of the specific employee who submits the expense or works on processing of it, right? So usually we're doing it in a little bit different way. And also a question coming in from our YouTube viewers, if we can run JavaScript when the stage changes. Kirill, Mike, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, Mike, go ahead if you know what the question is all about.
Yeah, definitely. So we haven't covered, with Alex, we haven't covered this part probably, but definitely you have a source code and you have access to a JavaScript, and you essentially may write any function there. We have specific listeners that your methods will trigger, let's say, when stages are changing, or you can even add some asynchronous validations if this is not something that is implemented in DCM user interface. You definitely have ability to code it everything by your hands, and you're not limited with and.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Mike. Another question that we have from the template track, I believe. Who will help to have data pre-populated in the connector platforms?
Well, that's really a developer's responsibility, or whoever is developing this solution. The team or the individual should take care of that. Usually we assume that the developer takes care of all the data that they need repopulated in the system.
Perfect, perfect.
Quick note, if you're using the CRM bundles, I don't know, that usually has a lot of demo data inside of it. So if you want to have a Creatio product with demo data, I would suggest using the CRM bundle, but you can definitely create your own data and then use it in the connector.
Perfect. So two more questions for the Q&A here. First of all, Mike, I believe that we've answered this one before, but well, yeah, we did answer that they can submit more than just one solution. Yeah. And we actually encourage our hackathoners to create more than one solution, right? Create as many as you'd like. Mike and I would have a pleasure reviewing those, and maybe Pearl and Lena will as well help us out as well. So the last question that we're going to take and answer, would a software entrepreneur be able to start a business based on your technology, and what would that look like? So the answer is definitely yes. Definitely reach out to our partner account managers for the partner program, right? Definitely reach out to us for more extended sessions on delivering the value of the products, how we can work together, how we can market, how we can help your business grow together with our technology, right? If you're interested in developing an industry solution that will be then penetrating the market for one specific type of organizations, we'll be very excited to see you start a business, grow your business, and expand your business with Creatio. So guys, I believe that we're good on questions. Actually, it looks like the tracks were very self-spoken, right? I know that we had a lot of participants and everybody was quite excited about the trainings that you guys delivered. So thank you guys very much for helping us out on the training tracks.
All right, our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys. So this concludes the kickoff for the hackathon, I believe. A few closing remarks. The very first thing, guys, is thank you very much for joining the hackathon kickoff. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for registering for the event. I know that we had a lot of registrations. We had a lot of participants. And we are all very excited here at Creatio to look at the results of our first Creatio No-Code Hackathon. Review your first applications that you're developing for this hackathon, right? And really see how we're going to be progressing the hackathon year to year, right? This year we had 1,600 registrations. This kickoff had around 500 participants. We're expecting to double to triple over the next couple of years. And this day, I'm pretty sure will be in the books, in the history, right, as our first event for many more to come. So at this point, let's all get down to business. Let's start creating our applications, right? Let's start submitting them. Let's start spreading the word, and we'll see you all later on at the announcements of winners. Thanks again, and looking forward.
Thank you. Good luck building your apps.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.